Ta-da! And back at you with another video, and welcome to this edition of Stop the Cap. I'm your host, Ahmad, and we got some things we need to talk about. It is November the 12th. It is one day after the Veterans Day celebration for all the vets. So for all the vets, including myself, happy Veterans Day to you. I hope you all had a enjoyable day off. Hope you got to go out, enjoy some times with your friends and family. So to all the veterans here in the States and abroad who are currently serving, who have passed serving, happy Veterans Day to you and your families. Tonight, I want to talk about racism in America. And mainly what I want to talk about is why in the year of 2025 do we still and are currently having race issues in this country. The Civil Rights Bill was passed in the early 60s. Yet it is 2025 and we are still having race issues, race problems, race concerns in our daily lives and in our daily beings here in the United States. And I want to ask the question why. The LGBTO community has pretty much, with one stroke of a pen, has reached far better than we have with the Civil Rights Bill that was passed 60 some years ago. With one stroke of a pen, their lives have gotten better. Yet, we are still having race issues in this country. And I want to know why. In less than 18, 19 days, in less than 40 days, we're in a new year. Less than 40 days, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a new year. And we still are having conversation about racism in America. I am 65 years old, ladies and gentlemen. I was born in 1960. I've only been called a nigger one time in my life. One time. And I was 42 years old when that moment happened. I remember exactly where I was, exactly what I was doing, and exactly where I was living. I had moved back to Indiana from Michigan. I was living in Indianapolis. I was out running one day. Not bothering anyone. It's a beautiful sunny day in July. I was out running. Nice weather. People were moving about left, right, and center, going about their daily lives. I was out running. A group of young men between the age of maybe 20, 25 were driving in the car. I'm going back west. They're going back east. I'm on the sidewalk running. They're heading the other direction. The car speds past me. The young man in the car yelled out, "You fucking nigger." I was moving so fast. Yeah, I heard it. I didn't even look back at the car. All I did was give him the black power sign and I kept it moving. I didn't go try to pick up nothing to throw at him. It actually made me laugh. Yeah, it actually made me laugh. Because while I'm running, like I said, I didn't look back at the gentleman. I kept running. I just raised up my hand. I gave him the black power sign. I didn't break one stride. I kept it moving. But while I'm running, it did cross my mind as I'm running. What make a group of people that's not being bothered, that's not being agitated, what makes a group of men, young men, drive down the street? You're in a predominant African American community, and just because no one else was out on the street at that particular moment, but them and me, why would you chance saying something like that where others could have heard it? And the outcome could have been totally different as you proceeded down the street. What would make a group of men say such a thing? That's what came to my mind. Yeah, when they said it, I actually laughed. I, I chuckled. I said to myself, like, really? You calling me a nigger was supposed to do what to me? What harm were you thinking, saying that was going to inflict upon me? I'm a former United States Marine Corps soldier. You think you running down the streets, you think you yelling from the car window, doing 40, and I'm running the other way, you yelling nigger, it's supposed to just send me off on the deep end? Was I supposed to do start picking up rocks and throwing it at the car? Was I supposed to do chase after you on foot and start calling you all type of name in return? Like, what was the mindset? What did they think I was going to do? What did they think saying that was going to do to me? You think that's going to change my day? You think that's going to change my view of the world because you hollered out the one, hey, nigger? Well, it didn't. It didn't change my perception of the world, not one iota. After I chuckled, after I thought about it but for a few seconds of why they did what they did, I kept it moving. It didn't affect me one way or the other. And I've been blessed to travel all over the world. No one in a foreign country has ever addressed it to my face, passing by, has called me a nigger. And I've been all over the world. I always figured that if I carried myself in a proper manner, conducting myself in a proper manner, I wouldn't have to worry about issues like that. I'm 99.3% a happy person. I've been that way since growing up. That's all I've been hearing from a small child. You always smiling, you always smiling, you always smiling, you always smiling. I do not walk around life anger and mad all the time, even when things do not go my way. I take my losses, I take my promotion, my gains with stride. I don't turn around and blame others for my downfall or my mistakes or my shortcomings. I don't turn my anger or disappointment on a whole race of people just because maybe one individual from that particular racial group has made me angry or did something spiteful or hurtful. I don't turn around and judge the whole race just because of my interaction with one person did not go in a proper manner which I thought it should have went. I don't turn my I don't turn myself into hatred or anger because I see certain things happening to a certain group of people within a race. But I do ask the question, and I ask myself this question a lot. Why are we still having race issues here in the United States? Why are we still talking about things that should have been dealt with and done with back in the 60s? Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of us, and most of us, including myself, we're not going to be here forever. We're not going to be here forever. So why do we keep this foolishness and nonsense adrift? I hear some people saying, y'all need to just move on, stop this and stop this. How can we move on as a race if people keep bringing it up? How can we move on if things keep happening and being done the way they are? How can we move on? How do you expect a race of people to move on if things are keep happening left, right, and center? How can we move on if this is being thrown in our face or that being thrown in our face or we being used for this cause or we being used for that cause? And what I mean by causes, as soon as the government shutdown came into existence, the first thing people was talking about was people on welfare, people on food stamp, people on this. And the first thing they came to us, like we were going to be the main cause and effect of not receiving food stamp. Like the African American race was going to be a burden to the country because we wouldn't have food to sustain ourselves. Like the majority of the United States population is African American on SNAP, on food stamps. Like the greater population of the United States needing government assistance is all African Americans. Like we're going to be a burden to the nation. Like the government shutdown was going to really affect us. That the burden of the United States having to feed us is now an issue and a problem. This is what I mean about racism. Okay, I got a bug in here. This is what I mean about racism. Why does it have to be an issue when certain things in our country don't align the way it's supposed to? Why do we have to start pointing fingers at the whole race instead of the issue with that individual or the issue with that? Why does it have to be a collective issue now? You got 0.1% of a race engaging in some type of negative activity. Now the whole 99.9% of that race is now being judged based on a few rotten apples in the bush. It's just like the police department. You got a few apples in the bush, but unfortunately, society is blaming the whole group as a whole when there's only a few rotten apples in each. You can go to, let's say we got 50 states, and we may have 4 or 5 different police forces in those states. And each of those states, you may have maybe 6 or 7 police out of each metropolitan, there may be a rotten apple that may have slipped under. But should we deem the whole police force as being corrupt? And that's what I feel with some of the issues here in America. Sure, we have some a few African Americans not doing what they're supposed to. Sure, we have a few African Americans conducting violence, robbery, murder. Sure, we have a few African Americans out here gang banging left, right, and center. But that should that mean the whole race be judged as thugs, as murderers, as rapists? Should the whole race be judged? And should we keep pointing fingers at each other? Well, your race does this. No, your race is doing this. No, your race is doing that. No, your race is doing that. It is 2025. Why are we still having race related issues in our country? And when will it end? When will this nonsense and foolishness of the highest order end? When will we stop pointing fingers at each other when we're both guilty of doing wrong? When we're both guilty of making bad mistakes? No race is without guilt or shame. Let's make that clear. No race is without guilt or shame. Every race on the face of the earth since I've been alive has been guilty of something, left, right, and center. No race on earth is guilty of shame. We all play a part in it. The government plays their part and the citizen plays their part. But we all play a part in the demise of the world as a whole. We all play a part in it. We all have a hand in keeping this perpetual demise of racism. We're all playing a part in it, one way or another. We're all playing a part in it. No one's really trying to end it. All we're doing is just talking about it. We're talking about the issues and problems, but no one is trying to fix it. No child is born in the world. No child, and I mean no child in the world, pops out of their mama's womb hating another man or woman. No child. So that means these are taught and learned issues and behaviors, which means as parents bringing children into the world, you need to start doing a better job. If you isolate your kids growing up to be around just a certain group of individuals, there may become a time in their life when they would have to interact with another group. They're not going to be able to do it. Why? Because they've been isolated their whole life. They don't know how to conversate. They don't know how to find points of interest because they've been isolated their whole lives. People, we're going to need each other. As human beings, we need each other. There's no point in your life that you can exist without the aid and assistance of another human being. There is no point in your life that you can exist without the aid and assistance of another human being. You're not going to exist in this world without the aid and assistance of another human being. So knowing that, why would you walk around with a hatred and a racist heart? Why would you maintain that? We all know the culture of the United States. We all know where it came from. And I say we need to let it go, but at some point we need to heal. Like I said, I'm 65 years old. When are we going to start healing as a nation? When are we going to start healing as a nation? I'm not talking about a race, I'm talking about as a nation. When are we going to heal? We still keep having these debates about racism in our culture and business and sports and this and that and the third. When will it end? When will we stop bickering, arguing, and pointing fingers at each other about racism? When this stuff is going to come to an end? We constantly keep bringing new life into the world, but we're not changing our bad habits. We keep bringing new life into the world, but we're not cleaning up our bad habits. We as a nation, we're not trying to change our image. We're changing image on one end. All right, you can go out here sleep with men, women. You can sleep with women. You can do this. You're free to do that. Yeah, we changing that image. We changing that left, right, and center. Hey, you want to sleep with a man? Fine. You want to sleep with a woman? Fine. You want to walk around the street holding hands, left, right, and third? Fine. You want to dress up as a woman and say you're a woman? You want to change your gender? You want to do it? The country says, hey, you can do it. It's okay. Their community, their lifestyle is prevalent. It's feathering all over the world. Everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to do it. Okay, that's what everybody wants to do. Hey, have at it. I'm not the one that's going to be passing judgment on the conduct, the behavior of the world. It's not going to be me. When that dirt is pushed over you, like that dirt's going to be pushed over me, you're not going to be able to judge me. You're not going to be able to criticize me no more. Your judgment and criticizing of me will end at that point. When I leave here, your criticizing, your pointing fingers at me ends. It's over with. You wasted your whole lifetime pointing fingers and trying to criticize me. You wasted your whole life bearing hatred. That dirt's gonna get pushed on you, just like it's gonna get pushed on me. Neither one of us is gonna be here forever. That's point blank and period. Each and every one of us will be checking out. So why waste your time pointing fingers and criticizing one another? Why? Why waste your time to downgrade, criticize, deny, and force your belief in the issue of hatred on another? Why? Why waste your time doing this? Why keep conducting this type of behavior? None of us are going to be on here forever. We're not going to be above ground forever. You can do all the finger pointing, the hating, the disking of one another, all you want, but you will be checking out. We all going to have to stand and get the great judgment. Whether you believe, don't believe, you just think we popped out of Baboon's ass, whatever your belief is, you can best believe when you leave here. you're gonna have to have some accountability, responsibility, and repercussions for your actions while you was walking around here on earth. So you think you just gonna leave here without no repercussions and consequences for your behavior above ground? You about to meet a sad day. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe a word I'm saying to you. You can keep living your life the way you living it. You can just think that when you die, you going on off to another dimension. You want to believe that, you go for it. But I believe that we all are responsible. We're all going to be accountable for our actions and consequences while we're above ground. Just as men and women judge your actions and behavior while you up here on the ground, because you do the wrong thing, what? There's a consequence and repercussions of it. They're going to throw you in jail. So if man is putting judgment on you, what makes you think the Lord's not going to put judgment on you? Just like you don't believe in law and order, that's why you locked up. That's why there's racism, because you believe this group and that group shouldn't be together. You can have that belief. You can maintain that principle. It won't sustain you. You're going to live a miserable life because no one is going away. No one is going away. Mexicans still will be born. African Americans still will be born. Chinese will still be born. Indonesians will still be born. Russians will still be born. Ukrainian people still will be born. No matter how much hate you maintain in your heart, people still will be created. People still will be born into the world. So why waste your time hating? Why waste your time trying to bring another race or another nation down? Why waste your time? Neither one of us will be here forever. So why waste your time engaging in that type of negative activity, that negative behavior? Why? Why waste your time doing that? Why waste your consequences and repercussions on that type of foolishness? Just ask yourself why. When you say, I don't like that person or I hate that person, ask yourself really why. Why maintain and harbor all that hatred within inside of yourself? Why? 2025 and we still have race issues here in the United States. Why? 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 We are still disking each other over racism. Why? Why are we still pointing fingers at other people's? Why? I've been all over the world. All over the world. I've been in so many countries. It's just unbelievable how I've been blessed. I've always maintained a high level of responsibility for my conduct and actions. I always try to make where I've been, where I walk, how I walk, be respectable. I always try to look out for the next man behind me. So I try to carry myself in a manner that when someone sees me, even though they may have hatred for the race, they can be like, hey, I remember Ahmad when he was around. He was a nice guy. He was a nice human being. He was a nice person. I try to set example for myself. I try to make accountability for myself and my actions. So no matter how you feel or think about others, when you came across me, when I came across your path, you could say or think about, hey, that was a good guy. That guy was kind. That guy carried himself well. That guy was mannerable. That guy was nice. Yeah, there is a difference in people. I try to give people an impression. Don't judge me the way you judge the man that acted like a fool. Don't assume that I'm going to act and behave because he acts and behave like that. I know there are evil men in all walks of life, in all races and culture. There is a evil man. If not, why would there be police in every state? Why would there be police in every country? Why you think a bunch of foreigners just traveling all over the world to commit crime? No. There are police in every country, every city, every state within those countries because there are some bad people in the world. Bad people are considered just bad people. They get the distinction they're just a bad person. But yet we are walking around here as men and women hating each other just because of our race. Just because of our race. We're hating another group of people just because of their race or past deeds that their mother and fathers before them did. You got to remember, no child came out of the womb being a racist. It is a taught and learned behavior. No child came out of the womb hating another human being. It is a taught and learned behavior. And when you walk across it and when you see it, don't be delusional. Don't get all pissed out and bent out of shape. That person was taught, it was a learned behavior. And I want to share a little small story. Growing up as a young boy, my father and mother had joined the Nation of Islam. They joined the Nation of Islam back during the early 55, 56. They joined the Nation of Islam. At that time, the Nation of Islam was being ran by Elijah Muhammad. So a lot of you Americans, you baby boomers, don't really know too much about Elijah Muhammad. Well, if you know the history of Malcolm X and how he got started, you know the history of Muhammad Ali, how he got started, then you will understand how the Nation of Islam operated and existed back in the 60s. So Elijah Muhammad, who was considering himself the supreme leader of the Nation of Islam back in that time, my parents were a part of that. What Elijah Muhammad was teaching back in those early days, it was almost like a form of separation. It was like a form of black men and women stay together, but be separate. You know, they were taught white man was a blue-eyed blind devil. The white man was created from cat dogs and all sorts of things. So the Nation of Islam was teaching a low-key separation and a low-key that the Caucasian race was evil. That the Caucasian race, wherever they go in the world, they spread hatred, they spread this, that, and the third. That was being taught in the early part of the Nation of Islam. Black men and women were taught to do for themselves, to stop depending on the white man for this, stop depending on the white man for that. My mother and father was a part of that. So, what did you think my mother and father did to us as kids? They taught that same doctrine. They taught that same doctrine to us as kids growing up. Now, when my mother and father separated and we were staying with our mother, our mom didn't teach that.